Okay, obviously you can read through this. This is effectively a transcript of some of my ideas. The way I've laid them out is completely ungrammatical, obviously separating ideas by commas. So I'm going to try and talk through it, but we'll see how it goes, and I hope it's useful to you. What I'm going to be doing is also connecting the ideas to where they are from in the poem itself. So, if we go through it line by line. So you've got this desire to escape the map, and the idea of death of childhood, rejection, and the need to be a woman growing up. And I think these are all really key themes in the map woman. You know, her desire to escape the map is effectively a rejection of her childhood because the map represents her childhood. And you have the third stanza for me, well, the second and third stanzas, both are sort of a representation of her childhood. So the heart of the town, the teachers of English and history, sitting on the wooden benches, that I see as from her past. And in some ways that continues into 4, 5, 6, and really up until the stanza where she talks about Junction 13, which is the 8th stanza. To some extent that's all her childhood, but it's in stanza 7, where it says she didn't live there now. She lived down south, abroad, en route, up north, on a plane or a train, on a boat or the back of cabs. All of that is desire to move on, desire to escape. And I think this is continued her idea of her rejection of her childhood, especially in the last stanza, with her new skin, her old skin goes, her skin sloughed like a snake's. And she's rejecting that, she's rejecting her childhood and growing up to become a woman. And it's a struggle because she's got this childhood which is deep in her bone, hunting for home. She wants to cling to it, but she also needs to escape from it. And I mean, really, that's what these first 3 are all about, the desire. She has to escape the map, the idea that the map might be little less behind. I think that burrowing, hunting for home, the idea that she needs roots and she's uncomfortable without them. And I think it's especially clear that she wants to escape the map with this sibilant tricolon, sponged, soaped, scrubbed, each one getting harsher, trying to remove it. Then the next few lines are about this listing of clothing. So there are 2 times, Duffy twice lists clothing in the poem. So first of all, here, with a dress, with a shawl, with a hat, with mitts or a muff, with leggings, trousers or jeans, with an ankle-length cloak, hooded or flingative, sleeved. And then again, here, under her stockings, under her gloves, under the soft silk scarf at her throat, under her chiffon veil. And then the next time you have is not actually a list of clothing, but a list of fabrics, so linen, satin, silk, leather, wool, perfume and mousse. That change from luxury or common ideas to luxury. Initially it seems like she's trying to cover up the map, hiding her childhood. You've got, if you're bringing in contextual ideas, female concepts of modesty quite often explored in literature, so Islam, and then comparing that to the West, the 1960s, the 1980s, when we've had things like bathing costumes, bikinis, pornography, quite sexualized images of the female body. And also what you've got is the change in the post-war period from having homemade clothes to having almost entirely ready-made clothes bought from a shop. And yeah, the change from common to luxury, especially I think in this idea of the linen to the satin, the silk, just underlining an increase in wealth. So then travelling through life, the idea that she's lost in life, she doesn't know her value, she feels alienated. When she returns home, it's changed. You know, it says, one day, wondering where to go next, she went back, thinking she knew the place like the back of her hand, but something was wrong. So the idea that it's changed, and she's uncomfortable without those roots again. There's a distinct volta in this stanza, so she's trying to escape, and then she goes back. And then when she goes back, she actually loses her map, and that's a real distinct change. Even though voltas are typical of sonnets, I think you could describe it as that. Travelling through life, you've got this lexical field of transport and direction, along with the clothing list here. We've got plane, train, boat, road, cabs, and got junction 13 on the motorway, ice cream van, lots and lots of travelling. And then you've got her saying goodbye, cheerio, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen, ciao, and saying it in lots of different languages rather than restricting herself. And there's a sense of nostalgia that you could say is influenced by Larkin, the idea that history can't remove. Your child is innate and interior, but she's trying to shed it. She feels trapped. You've got all these complications of death and life, expectations. There's no privacy in a village. Is seen here. You could sit on a wooden bench as a wedding pair ran ringed from the church, wonder who you would marry and how and where and when you would die. And that's all the idea that in a village, for example, there might be no privacy and everyone spends their time speculating about your life. And then again, the map represents childhood, memory. A map is a guide, but her map has become outdated. It's just that she's, not stuck in the past. And it's worth noting that this was published in 2002, obviously, and things like sat-navs didn't really exist then. I can't say for certain that there were no sat-navs, but they weren't common. But if you think about a map, if you get a map in 2000, say by 2018 it is out of date. In my family, we generally replace our maps about every 10 years because you have to, otherwise they become out of date. She uses second person. It's quite limited. That's here in chapter 3. You could, you would, you find yourself. And that's just an interesting thing to pick up on because it's quite atypical of poetry. It doesn't really fit into the traditional poetic structure, but then that in some degree fits in with the postmodern. You've got a mixture of enjambment and end stops at the end of stanzas, and then you've also got moments of caesura within stanzas. So on the one hand, you've got the narrative, which is flowing, the idea that it can't be constrained because you've got run-on standards, but then you've got this caesura, which is just inconsistency, and the fact that life is unpredictable. There's no prominent male figure. Female roles, host story, postman, and Some points I'm going to run over a bit either here or when they come up again, because the way my work was set up, because this is a transcript, some things do come up again, or 2 or 3 times. So the idea of modern wild, industry and nature, phones, and the relations to films. So watching the Beatles run for a train, Dustin Hoffman screaming Elaine, 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 Spaceman 2001, they're all iconic films of the 1960s. And it just gives this idea that she could be anyone, because they're so iconic. You've got the pop culture, the sexual freedom, all of those things were happening then. Then next back, so number 13 I think is quite important, because there are 13 stanzas. Traditionally an unlucky number, gives it a sad tone. Junction 13 could be a junction in life. You've got the fact that the guy is never seen again. Sorry, I'm trying to find where it is. Yeah, junction 13, you have a girl who had not been seen since she did. Heard of a kid who'd run across all 6 lanes for a dare before he was tossed by a lorry into the air, theme of death. And you've also got a warning. The warning, if she's never been seen again, the idea of exploitation or abduction. Then in the poem as a whole, obviously this extended metaphor of the map being on the body and body imagery. So the female body, you've got the heart, which is centre of love, centre of town, busy. Then you've got compare that to the navel, which is empty, but maternal ideas, nursing, which links in with the breast. And that's just, linking in to female ideas. Again, how female experience changes, shapes and builds identity. Looking at the theme of identity, for doing postmodern themes in feminine gospels, this is a really key poem for identity. Growth and aging, is it positive, is it negative? Again, that need to escape, the desire for freedom. There is a brief mention of lovers. It is quite brief, but you've got the lover's hand that caressed the map in the dark from north to south, and the lost tourists wandering here or there, all fingers and thumbs, as their map flapped in the breeze. That's adding to the metaphor, and she uses italics to mark speech, which is typical of Duffy. Sorry. And a lot of these ideas have already really come up. So luxury contrasting with the everyday and does not equal happiness. Public v private, that's a really key thing if you're looking at poetry at all. Something Gregerson said about the sonnet, the idea that a sonnet is so private, yet it's public because you're making it a poem. Sorry. So there are regular stanzas, 13 stanzas, 10 lines each, gives it a strong structure, consistency, which contrasts with the use of punctuation. Again, little influence of men. So you've got themes of growth and maturity, leaving childhood behind. Is childhood negative? That's something that's really interesting in this poem, is the childhood negative. Images of death, fragility of life. It's quite depressive, but it's also quite realistic. The women have no identity, they're anonymous. Sorry, I really should check the postmodern theme. Are all the women? This is, I'm looking at the book as a whole, or the collection as a whole. There are a lot of women where this is the case, the idea that they're all one, they're all connected by a sense of community, but is that a loss of self? We've also got female roles listed, being mothers and wives, nuns, priests obviously is not necessarily female. In fact, probably male. There would have been very few. And then just typical of W, the vernacular or you could call it demotic, or you could call it colloquial language, which makes it relevant to all. And the poem is primarily set in the past tense, as a lot of poems in the collection are, which gives a reflection and a perspective on the past. And I'm afraid I've already actually gone over the time limit I set for this. But as I say, I hope it's been useful. I'll put the pictures of my work in and you can try and understand it. And please comment if you would like a video on the whole poem.